Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute or Library, the name of my channels on those two websites is Comic Freak. We're going to be reading an article about the Reylos, and, well, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Rey and Kylo Ren kiss confirmed to be non-romantic, and this fact has driven the Reylos even more insane because they've taken to Twitter and basically began attacking everybody they can, saying that they hate Star Wars once again, and we'll learn all about it in this article. One of the most controversial parts about Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker's story is no doubt how it resolves the Kylo Ren Rey storyline that flowed through the entire sequel trilogy. A lot of Star Wars fans were hoping that Rey and Kylo Ren's story was leading to an epic romance, but instead all they got was a single kiss between the two. Well, Star Wars fans that were able to draw any small bit of romantic payoff from Rey and Kylo Ren's kiss can now join the rest of us in disappointment because it's been confirmed that Rey and Kylo's kiss wasn't a romantic one at all. The official Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker novelization is coming out soon, and advanced copies of the book were released during the C2E2 convention in Chicago over the weekend. When combing through The Rise of Skywalker's novelization, Star Wars fans were uncovered that the book explains the final moment between Rey and Kylo Ren. Ben Solo is in no uncertain detail. And because of the fact that it was basically said to be a non-romantic kiss, as well, funny as that is, because there is precedent, because remember when Leia kissed Luke Skywalker? That has long been established that it was just a kiss and nothing more than that, because it was later made out to be that they were siblings. So, if you don't want to be in a position where that becomes an uncomfortable position, then yeah, the kiss between Kylo Ren and Rey has to be non-romantic to make this story seem, well, more legitimate. Even though the Reylos are cringing and crying at this and basically just screaming to high heaven that this is not right, that Rey and Kylo Ren should be together. But it ain't happening. And those who wanted that relationship will just have to, well, leave it at that. His heart was full as Rey reached for his face, let her fingers linger against his cheek, and then, wonder of wonders, she leaned forward and kissed him. A kiss of gratitude, acknowledgement of their final connection, celebration that they found each other at last. But then she drew back, concern on her face. She could feel him growing cold. Ben smiled at her. He had given Rey back to the galaxy. It wouldn't atone for the darkness he'd wrought, but it was what he could do, and this was a bit of the novel that the Reylos are cringing and crying about, because it was an acknowledgement of gratitude, not of romantic interest. And that is something these people cannot accept. And they are now online screaming and attacking people because they didn't get what they want. Sometimes you don't get what you want, and you have to accept that fact, Reylos. But I guess since you are who you are, you're not going to do that. And we just have to, well, ignore you, and we have been doing that, and will continue to do that. But this is all just hyperbole, because in actuality, the novel is basically a giant retcon. Disney saw how the Reylos weren't happy with the fact that they didn't get the Kylo Ren-Rey relationship they wanted. They got a kiss. So, they've taken to Twitter and are basically tweeting out that they won't buy this novel and that they freaking hate it. They're acting like little children, and it's quite humorous to see. But the fact is, Disney decided to cut its losses because they couldn't get the Reylo fans to love their movie, and all they really did was make them angry because they didn't give them what they wanted. So there you have it. Rey kissed Ben Solo as a thank you, nothing more. Normally we might argue that a climactic kiss in an arc between two lead characters couldn't be reduced to a platonic thanks, but this is Star Wars we're talking about. For the good of the franchise's past, we kind of have to accept that thank you kisses are actual part of canon, because if we don't, then that whole kiss between Luke and Leia Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back gets that much weirder. So yeah, thank you kissing is definitely a Star Wars staple. See, as I said, this entire novel is a giant retcon. They're using it because the Reylos aren't doing what they wanted, so they're basically appealing to the other Star Wars fans and the common moviegoer by saying this kiss was just a platonic one. They want to acknowledge that Star Wars canon is actually still Star Wars and not like Twilight, because that's what they were going for by basically appealing to girls and making this Kylo Ren-Rey relationship, even though no one really wanted it. Well, except for the Reylos, of course. So, they saw that the Reylos weren't going to work out. They were going to now appeal to the regular Star Wars fans, and the normies. So, Lucasfilm is now going back to formula. They're going back to basically the original Star Wars. They're trying to make the future movies more like that instead of trying to appeal to, well, girls and, well, agenda politics, because apparently it just isn't selling. That's what this novel is. By acknowledging the fact that, well, Kylo Ren and Rey kissed, they're making it seem like the original series where Luke kissed Leia and it was just a platonic one. They're trying everything they can to steer away from the controversy of the Reylos as well as the agenda politics, even though they're still putting it in the movies. They're just steering away from it, basically trying to say, hey, look at this, basically taking their car keys and flipping them around, jingling them so they'll distract you from what they're really doing, which is basically trying to, well, do everything they can to make sure this franchise doesn't die. Well, it isn't working because the franchise is already dead. You've driven off the fans, and the common man can see that these movies are just not good because you didn't have any plan for any of these movies. You just made a movie back to back with no overall arc in them at all. You just came up with something in one movie, and then you had the next director take that something, and he had to come up with something in response. And basically, Rian Johnson saw this and decided, well, I'm just going to throw this out the window and do whatever I want with this movie. And he then gave us The Last Jedi, the complete and utter wreck of the Star Wars franchise, and the nail that basically sealed its fate. Because, well, Ron Trevorrow, in response, was going to make a movie that was probably going to be as good as, let's say, The Force Awakens. But because, Carrie Fisher died, he couldn't do that. And in response, because he couldn't deliver, Kathleen Kennedy fired his butt and basically got, J.J. Abrams back to basically make the final movie in the Skywalker saga, even though the Skywalker saga had ended, with The Force Awakens, because Rian Johnson basically didn't do anything that J.J. Abrams wanted. So we have a movie that, is basically just taking every stray bit of information and lore that J.J. Abrams could still work with and basically try and give us something that would, hopefully not bomb in theaters. And no, the movie just trudged along, making no sense at all because there was no real plot connecting any of the events. You didn't explain how Palpatine was back from the dead. At first you said he survived, but now he's a clone. Now you have, Reylos basically screaming that they were getting what they wanted with Ben Solo kissing Rey at the end of the movie because you couldn't do anything else because you couldn't appeal to anybody, but you decided to appeal to them because at least you had something to work with there. But you couldn't basically have, Kylo Ren survive the movie because then you'd acknowledge the fact that all the evil he did would be nothing if he lived with Rey for the rest of his life happily. So you couldn't do that because the other fans would just, up and revolt against it. So you basically had him die acknowledging the fact that he loved Rey, but at the fact of it that no one, including the Reylos, liked this at all, that he died. Everyone started screaming at you. You decided to appeal to the regular common man and Star Wars fan who's been there for years and say that, no, it was just another throwback to the original trilogy series by basically being a platonic kiss and try to appeal to them in that way. And did that work out? No. Now the Reylos are even angrier now. And the other fans don't care at all because we're not watching this movie because Star Wars is now for girls. Congratulations, Disney. You have a $1 billion franchise you paid $3 billion for to George Lucas, and now you have absolute trash. I have nothing to say but be happy for the fact that your franchise is going down, and hopefully we won't have to see any more Star Wars movies because we can always make our own franchises and comic books and novels and video games that have actual things we'd like to see in a Star Wars movie and a grand space opera we love and enjoy, and we don't need you anymore. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people. So make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. Then go over to BitChute and Library and subscribe to my channels on those two websites. They're both named Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit that like button and leave some comments down below. And if you could you also please share this video? Share it on Twitter, share it on Reddit, and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it'll do the most good because YouTube is not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore. So please share this video. Now listen closely. It's that time of the day again. It's plug-in time. Keep checking back in all my future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. And if you're wondering, yes, Scumdogs is coming, so keep checking back in these videos for more information. Now, I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.